Heritage class.
Go,
welcome to another session of the Yoruba Heritage class given by Dr. Posi Olatubosun. So just a brief introduction of Dr. Posi Olatubosun for those who are new here. Dr. Posi Olatubosun is a senior lecturer in accounting and finance at the Glasgow Caledonian University, London campus. He is a fellow member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA. In terms of public offices, he currently serves as an external examiner in accounting to a number of UK universities. He's also a Senate member at the American International University based in Banjul, Gambia. And without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Dr. Olatubosun.
Thank you very much. You're welcome, everyone, to week 8 on Yoruba Heritage, where we look at what makes us Yoruba. Okay, so last week we looked at Yoruba clothing. That is Agbada, Buba, Shoro, Iro and Buba, and so on, that we wear in Yorubaland. And those clothings are peculiar to us. So whenever you see anyone wearing them, surely you know that they are Yoruba people. Okay, so today we are looking at Yoruba names or naming in Yorubaland. The ceremony is called ìsomolórúko. Okay, so not only that we will be looking at the ceremony itself, we would also be looking at Yoruba names and their meanings. In Ashanti, our neighbors to the west, they only name people based on the days of the week, whether it's Monday, Kojo, and so on and so forth, Kweku, and so on. But for Yorubas, it goes beyond the days. There is a proverb which says, that is, we look around, we look at home, we look at the environment before we name our children. So in Yorubaland, there are names that are predestined. There are names, they're family or compound names. There are Oriki names. There are names which coincide with days of the week, and so on and so forth. So, so those are the issues that we will be. We're going to be looking at different, names in Yorubaland in addition to the ceremony itself. Now, so the issues I will be covering today are naming ceremony, preordained names, family names, pet names, abiku names, and epithetic names. So let's start with the naming ceremony itself. In the olden days, we understood that female children are named on the 7th day, and male children named on the 9th day. But things have changed. So now, whether they are male or female, all are named on the 8th day. Okay, but then they pray a lot with they pray a lot. So the 7th or 9th day, which is now the 8th day, and there are certain insignia that they use. And those are the ones that I've listed on the picture that you've seen on the right-hand side. For instance, they use adon, which is a particular food made of corn and pepper, which signifies that the life of the child will be sweet. They use honey, sugar, kola nut, all these to pray for the child. Honey, kola nut, bitter kola, alligator pepper. Alligator pepper to pray that the child will be prolific in terms of childbirth, and so on. So all of them have significance, and they use them to pray for the child. Naming is also important because they believe that whatever they name the child is what the child will become. Because there is a saying that asomone shode ode asomone shorilo onilo. That is, basically whatever you bear in name is what you're likely to become in life. So they use all the items that you can see on the right-hand side and many more, like sugarcane, to pray for the child, basically. Okay, so that's the ceremony. So apart from praying for the child and naming them on the 8th day now, there are also specific, home or area-specific ritual that they engage in. For instance, in some areas they throw water on the roof, and they make the mom and the child to run through it. I don't know what that means. So there are so many ceremonies that they engage in whenever a child is born. So it is an important ceremony. Now let's go into the ceremony. It's the names themselves. So we have predestined names. That is, these are names that are based on the circumstance of the birth of the child. For instance, a female child born on Sunday is called Bose or Abosede. And then we have other names like the ones listed here. For instance, if the child, the first of the twins to come out is called Taiwo or Tailulu or Tayewo. And the second one to be born is called Kendi. And then we have Idowu, who is the one born immediately after the twins, and then Alaba, born after Idowu, then Idogbe, born after Alaba, and then Idoha or Idoho, born after Idogbe. So these are names associated with ranking after twins. And then we also have Ige, that is a child born with feet first, which is a kind of breach. It is not something that is expected in medicine, I believe. So that's Ige. Then we also have Ojo if it's male and Aino if female. Generally in Yorubaland, except Ijebu, where it doesn't matter whether it's male or female, they call them Aino. So if a child is born with umbilical cord around the neck, they are called Ojo if it's male and Aino female. But in Ijebu, it doesn't matter whether it is male or female, they bear Aino. Then we have Oke, that is a child born with thin covering. Okay, and we also have Dada, who is a child born with naughty hair, just like Bob Marley, Ilori is a child born after the mom has reached menopause. That is, excuse me. If the mom has reached menopause and then suddenly she becomes pregnant with another child and the child is born, the child will be called Ilori. Then Ajayi is a child that comes facing down. And then if a child stays more than 9 months, which is also a kind of breach, the child will be called Omokwe. And then if the child is born with head covering with a thin caul, the child will be called Salako if it's male, and Talabi with female. And a child with 6 fingers is called Olugbodi. Now, the 6th finger is normally, another finger shooting out from here, but normally what's done is that they tie something around it, and within 30 days it will fall off. But these are names that are predestined based on the circumstance of birth in Yorubaland. So we also have family names. Family names are many, but these are just samples, okay? For instance, if your name starts with Oje, it means that the family are adherents of Egungun cults. So variants include Ojelabi, Ojeni, Ojewumi, Ojelade, and so on. And then Ogun if your name starts with Ogun, it means that you are adherent of Ogun, like Ogunbiyi, Ogunsonwo, and so on. And then Shango, Shangodele, Shangodokun, these are adherents of Shango. And then in the case of Ifa, Falaye, Fayemi, Faluse, even Jakonde. Jakonde has a meaning which ties it with Ifa as well. Okpa, that is a particular cult called Awokpa. They are also adherents of Orishaoko. So when you hear names like Okpaleye, it's actually Okpaleye, Okpatola, Okparindi, but these days people call it Okpa, but it's actually Okpa. Okpaleye, Okparindi, Okpatola, and so on. And then I will first, so I will get and so on. Then if the family is known for ornament work, like Onobamiro, Onobanjo, Onoduro, if the family is that of sorcerers or adherent of god of fertility, we have names like Shoyinka, Showemimo, Shodeinde, Shodapo, and so on. And then an interesting one, if the child was born via incestuous background, that is, if cousins married, stepsister, if the child was born through incestuous background, then they are called Ibidapo. I'm very sure your mind will start running around. Okay, I've heard the name Ibidapo before. Yes, Ibidapo is a name given if the child was born through incestuous background. So, of course, anything Ade means that they are from royal family, and Ola means wealth, and the variants are listed there, and Olu means Lord, that is Oluwa. Oluwa means Lord, my Lord. So the variants of these names are listed here. Okay, so let's move on to pet names. So when you hear names, so every Yoruba person is expected to have their own first name, a common name which we're going to be looking at very soon, like Femi, Yemi, Nike, Shola, Tunde, and so on. We also have pet names like Alabi, Shola, and so on. So the interpretation of those names are listed here. For instance, Allah. Whenever you hear Awufala, Shofala, Allah means white or holy in Yorubaland. Alamu, Alade, Allah means white. So Alabi means born white or born with holiness. Akobi means intentionally giving birth to. But these are pet names. Everyone should normally have these pet names. Abike means born to treasure, Aduke, compete to treasure, Anike, have to treasure, and so on. Alamu, holiness to behold. So Allah, just bear in mind, I remember a street in Bariga in those days called Awufala, and Igbos in the area call it Awufala. Malaulu. Malaulu means bring white to Olu or to Rishaoko. But basically, just bear that in mind. Allah means white in Yorubaland. And then we have Abiku names. These are names given to children born where they are experiencing incessant deaths of children. Now, when a child dies prematurely in Yorubaland, what they do is that they put a mark on the child's body. And they believe that in certain cases that the child would come back with those marks. And whenever they notice that, they give such children Biku names, like Kuyoro, Kudai. I think you have to mute your microphone, please. Thank you. Please, you need to mute your microphone. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my. I have to keep quiet until the person mutes his microphone.
Yeah, please, I think you can mute everybody, Dr. Latubosun. Trust you can mute everybody from your end. And Eniola, please mute your microphone. And there's somebody called Nina. Please mute your microphone. Thank you.
Okay.
Amen.
I'm trying to see if I can. Okay. Okay, I've muted them. Okay, thank you very much. So right. So these are the names on the screen are Abiku names, like Malomo, which means please don't go, or Daisi or Oluwa Daisi, which means may God preserve this one. And Duro, Dola, Duro Jaye, Duro Semi, they all mean they are all Abiku names. Yemi Ton, stop deceiving me. Kashima with artist, let's wait and see. Kosoko, which means we no longer have hold to dig the ground. Banjo Kokokumo, and so on. So these are Abiku names. They believe that the child had come before and died prematurely, and therefore they are begging the child not to go again. So, and then we also have epithetic names, you know, like Funjowo, Ajishafe. It's very rare to have this as names, but we do have them these days. Alonge, we have Alonge, we have Akeju. We don't have people bearing these names, but basically they're, you know, epithetic names. Funjowo, Ajishafe, Pelenge, Arikuyo, Agboticuyo, and so on. So Ibadiaron, Orikelewa. So, but then there are also Yoruba names. So these are general first names, the ones you've got on the screen right here. And their meanings are listed here. I may not be able to go through them one by one, but I just want to pick one out, and that's Adebayo. So whenever you see Adebayo, it's not actually Ade crown. It means we came to meet happiness, not necessarily a crown name, you know, that's Adebayo. But the meanings of all the names, the common ones are listed here. For instance, Tokumbo, the very last one, means a child born overseas, but I don't think it's common again, because we now have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Yorubas in diaspora. So the name is now kind of going into extinction. But, but apart from the ones listed here, if you need to know the meaning of any particular Yoruba name, you can go to the one you've got on the screen right now, that is www.yorubanames.com. If you go there and type in, you will see it's got its own search engine. It's got hundreds of thousands, maybe, of Yoruba names. The site is hosted by my junior brother, Kola Tubosun, who is an authority in linguistics. I'm an authority on accounting, but he manages he is the author of the website. So if you need to know any Yoruba names, please go to yorubanames.com. Okay, thank you very much. So let's now have a discussion on the names that we have listed today. Please note that we haven't covered all the Yoruba names, but the major ones, you know, have been covered. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I could see Joel Fashokun raising his or her hand there.
Hi.
Go ahead.
So I was wondering about so when you were talking about Ibidapo, sorry,
Ibidapo. Yes.
Yeah.
Ibidapo.
So is that sort of like, is that kind of a is that a sort of a negative thing? If I don't know, I'm sort of just wondering about sort of where this has come from, because it's quite it's quite an interesting sort of exploration of, you know,
there are so
being
many
a product of incest sort of
I
thing.
would thank you. I would thank you. Very, very, very good question. I would extend that a little bit more. Yoruba people, you know, they have ethics. You know, they have their own ethics. In certain cultures, like the Pakistani, the Indians, I think Pakistani in particular, they marry their cousins, as you perhaps know, but that's alien to Yorubas. So when anyone engages in that, they would give a name so as to serve as perhaps a deterrent that please don't do this again. They will have names like Mubo, Moro Mubo, you know. Another name called Mojere. Mojere means that, you know, you didn't marry properly. Yeah, it means that the mom didn't marry properly. For instance, if the child, you know, gives birth out of wedlock, they will give that name so as to serve as like a deterrent that please don't do this again, or to serve. So there are so many names that are going into extinction now, like the ones I've mentioned, like Mubo, like Mujere, like Ibidapo, because they carry negative stories. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. I think B. Fashoko is raising his or her hand.
Yeah.
Oh, Bola, yeah. I think it's
yeah,
Bola.
it is me, Bola. Yes.
I think by now, if I don't know your name, I should get a knock on my head. Yes.
So you had something about Akombi earlier on.
Yes.
I thought, I mean, I have always grew up knowing I was an Akombi, but I thought that was related more to being the first child. I thought that's a literal meaning of Akombi rather than, but you called it intentional birth or something like that.
Yes, it is. Akombi is also given to first child. Yeah, I must add. It's also given to, but it all literally means the same thing, that we intentionally give birth to this one. It's for first child, and I think they also call first child Daudu. So yes, thank you. You know, Akombi is for first. You know, most times, but it carries the same meaning. I must say that we intentionally give birth to this one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So it's so that yeah. So yeah. Any other question?
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for my Idoworiki. I got it. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
you're going to get more because I've told
Excellent.
the guy who is like a connoisseur of it that
Ah,
he should, you know, intentionally prepare one for you.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that one is like to whet your appetite, basically.
Oh, that's great. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Yeah.
My question was in terms of number of days when a child is named. I knew of the 7 for girls, 8 for boys, or something like that.
7 for girls, 9 for boys, but
Yes.
now they've changed it to 8 for boys and girls in Yorubaland.
Why so? Why has it changed?
It might be, I'm hesitating guesses. It might be that they just want to just go with the flow. I'm not sure whether other cultures are the influence ours, but I can't really say. I don't know the reason why they chose a midway rather than. I don't know of other cultures around our neighbors in Yoruba and whether there are others naming their child after 8 days that we copied, but it used to be 9 days for boys, 7 days for girls, but now 8 days for
So
everyone.
it's probably just randomly getting a set number of days for everyone.
Maybe.
Okay. All right, thanks. Thank you. That was all. Thank you.
I had another question actually about the sex of names. We have, I guess, names usually, associated with females or males. But is there like a hard rule behind that? You know, I mean, how do you, you know, there's some names that can be both, you know, why can't any, I mean, all of them have meanings that could really be, could be any sex, you know, so.
Thank you. I don't think we have fast rule on this because I have people bearing Omotunde and they are female. We have Femi and they are female. We have Ebun and I have Ebun who is a male. So it doesn't really, you know, I don't think we have fast rule on those. But there are certain names that are specifically for girls and specifically for boys. For instance, I think Bosse is for girls only. Talabi is for girls, and the Ojo is for male, you know. But I don't think there is, apart from ones that are predestined names, Yorubas do not really have rules that, well, you don't know this one, male or female.
Yeah.
So maybe
No, I mean, I was just looking at it, at the name like Adebayo, for example, which, you know, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know any female who's named Bayo or Adebayo, but I don't know why it cannot be a female's name. You know, I mean, it's, so I was just wondering if there was.
Yeah, it's a very good critical critical mind. Yes, you've got a critical mind, and truly, you know, I never knew that a female could be Femi until I came across Femi. You know, but I know of female who are Femi. So, and I've seen male called Light and female called Light. But in the case of Bio, maybe perhaps you can start. You can start by naming your child a female child. I mean, because there is, it's not, we do not have a taboo that's associated with those, except it is specifically a name which is known as a male name.
Yeah, like a Babatunde or something like that.
If it's Babatunde, we know it's a male. If it's Yetunde, we know it's female. If it's Yabo, we know it's
yeah.
But Kola can be female, can be male. I think even Bayo can be female. I don't see any reason why.
Yeah.
But what I've noted is that whenever you come across, for instance, if someone should name her child Omobayo, then you say, okay, well, you will see like a slant. Okay, well, this is the reason. For instance, I know of Omotunde, and the person is a female. You know, that could be it.
I think most names that start with Omo, they tend to be females, right? Omo,
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I have a friend, Abibayo. So we went to, Abibayo. So she's female. So I know nobody calls her Bayo. We call her Abi or Abibayo, the full name. But yeah, she's female.
Correct. That's it. I think we may have that slant to it that, look, if it's female, there's something which would make it different. Thank you. I think Shade Fashokun is raising her hand.
So can you explain more what you mean by epithetical names?
Okay, so this is what we call inogije. Let me put it that way in Yoruba language. They are names like alias, what we would call alias. You know, but then the interesting thing about those aliases is that some of them have now become proper surnames, like Alunge, like Akeju, you know, like Ajishafe, like Ibadiaron, Awelewa. So those names, they are epithetic, but how they became surnames, well, I don't know. But I've seen people bearing Amolegbe. I've heard Akeju. I've heard Bauku. I've heard Arikuyeri. But it could be that when their children started going to school in 1952, you know, that was the time when free education was introduced into Western region. If they say, okay, what's your father's name? Well, the person may say, okay, well, my father's name is Ajishafe, because that's the alias that the father is known for. Or what's your father's name? My father's name is Akeju, but those are alias, or what you call Oruko Inogija. But they've crept into a list of names in Yorubaland, fortunately or unfortunately. Yes, I hope I've answered your question. I think Joel is raising her hand.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, it is Jolie.
Okay.
And so I was just going to say, I've noticed there's a few questions on the chat. So I didn't know.
Okay, let me see. Let me look at the chat and answer those questions. 2 new messages. The prefix Ade, Olu, Ola is quite common. How do families decide their preference? Oh, thank you very much. I think Shaya said Shaya is normally a male name. Okay, thank you for that. Someone said, Doctor, I like your Yoruba diction. Okpa is a new one I've learned this evening. Did you study Yoruba to a higher level? Well, a quick answer to that. I didn't study Yoruba past secondary school, but I came from a family where my dad, I would say, is a connoisseur of Yoruba. That's it. I didn't study Yoruba at all. So that's the answer to that one. Okay, so then the prefix Ade, Olu, so how do families decide their preference? Well, if you come from a royal family, then we expect you to be bearing names like Ade, or Oye, Oyewumi, Oyewusi, Ogun, or if you're, Ade, if you're a prince. So Prince Ade is actually reserved for prince and princess and princess. So that's how you will know that somebody's come from a particular family. But Olu means Oluwa, or my Lord. But these days, I think people have confused it to mean God, but it means my Lord. And then Ola means wealth. So certain families, rather than, because they want to ditch their past, which is associated with Orisha Oko or Ifa or whatever, they may choose Ola or Olu. But I think that's the trend that we've noticed in recent times. Look, anyone who bears Ade, actually means that they come from a royal family. So that's so I've answered those questions in the chat room. So my dad is a poet. Perhaps you may have heard the name before. His name is Olatubosun Oladapo. He's into Ewi. So that's how my contact with Yoruba. Apart from that, I didn't study Yoruba at all. My first degree is in accounting, my second degree finance, my PhD accounting, and I'm also a chartered accountant. And I run my own firm in the UK. I'm also a senior lecturer in the university, looking forward to becoming a professor. So, professor in accounting, basically. So, but my brother, for instance, my own junior brother, studied linguistics and has bias for Yoruba. So, so he is the one that owned the Yoruba names website, for instance. Someone said, thanks for the lesson, but my sister and I have got ready for school. Okay, thank you, Michael and Janet. Thank you. Right. So in the absence of any other question, maybe I can hand over to Nike so that she can carry on, and then I'll stop recording.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olatubosun.
Very quick question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay, it's Funshaw here. Just out of curiosity, is there any primary source or text that kind of has a lot of the information about Nigeria, Yoruba culture, history, names, and things like that? I'm not aware of any, but I know that other cultures, some other cultures tend to have something that's passed from one generation to the other. So the reason why I asked is you made a comment about, when it comes to naming ceremony, that for females, it used to be 7 days after they were born and males after 9 days. And at some point it was changed to 8. Like, who's driving that change? Who's driving that change? Who changed it? And how was that communicated? Was that just culture that evolved, and then people kind of knew about it? Or like some of these changes in culture, how does that happen? And like, who's driving it?
Very good question. Yes, we've come a long, Yoruba people have come a long way. And also remember that Yoruba is not a nation yet. So we've been lumped. And, when we started the very first week, I made you to understand that the location where we have Yorubaland today, Yorubaland under Alaafin Abiodun Adegolu, comprised of the area from the west of River Volta up to in the north, Lokoja and Jeba and Niki in Benin Republic and Togo. So up till Wari. So that was under Alaafin. But now the area had been divided into 3. We have the Yorubaland in Togo, in Benin Republic, and in Nigeria. So that's part of our problem. And then Yoruba is, is part of Nigeria, and we do not have our own, our own culture, our own destiny in our own hands. So you see, we have British Library, we have British Cultural Center, we have all those things in England here. Do we have such in Yorubaland? No. The central government in Nigeria isn't interested in such things. So they want to be less of Yoruba and imbibe a Nigerian culture, which is actually culture of corruption. But in any case, I'm not going into that today. But that's the crux of it. So we do not have Yoruba Academy. All those things are now, we're trying to revive them. And again, don't forget that we also have the received English culture. We have the received religions, the Christianity religion and the other religion also. So all these, they came with a colonization, actually. People don't know this, but every opportunity that I have to let people know that, look, even the religion that we're talking about, the Christianity religion, and so they are foreign to you. So do not call yours evil. So it's time for people to go back to this thing. So, but then I'm very sure that if we have our own country, come on, we will, all the things you're talking about will be domesticated, would be taught in schools. I mean, today, Indians, in certain, because I do have Indian, scholars coming from India, and I understood that in some regions, the first time they will have contact with English will be in year 9. In year 9, the same in China. In Japan don't even have Christianity and Islam at all. I've got professor friends who are from there, and they said they don't even have. So when you talk of heaven and hell, they will be laughing at you. And that's the most technologically advanced country in the world. They've been using video phones since the year 2000, something we started using here maybe some years ago. So if we have our own country, which would happen very soon anyway, then all these things will be documented. We will chart our own path. We'll have our own culture. All those things will be revived, actually. So that's a very good question. But the reason why all those lofty ideas that we have keep collapsing and being destroyed is because we've been subsumed within Nigeria. But because there is not a political show, so I think I've said enough now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Okay, so any other comments? Okay, in the absence of any other comments, thank you so much. So I will stop recording now and I'm handing over to Nike.
Okay, thank you so much.